Good day, everyone. So today we're going to tackle Eric Erickson's psychosocial theory of development. So it is very important for us educators, to understand the framework, in looking at how human beings grow socially and also emotionally across the lifespan. By the way, Eric Erickson, he is a neo-Freudian theorist in which he emphasized that development is a lifelong process which involves 8 stages, and each marked a psychosocial conflict that shapes our identity and personality. So these stages of development will show us how individuals balance internal needs and social expectations. So for the learning outcomes, by the end of this session, it is expected the students to be able to explain the 8 stages of development, psychosocial development. Second is to identify the central conflict, significant life event, and virtue of each stage. And third is to discuss how Erickson's theory guides teachers in understanding learners' behaviors and needs. So let us not just only memorize these stages, but also understand how they connect in real life classroom settings or situations, because as educators we meet students in various psychosocial stages. Before looking into the details of the 8 stages of development according to Erickson, let us clarify some of the key concepts now that we will come across as we look into the details of Erickson's theory. First, we have here the term autonomy. This refers to freedom and confidence to make independent choices. Meaning, if a person has autonomy, he or she can decide for himself or herself. He or she is not dependent to others to come up with one's decisions. Meaning, these individuals can discern, can reflect, in coming up with major life's decisions, though they share, their thoughts, their plans to others, they solicit, others' opinions, others' advices, but at the end of the day, a person with autonomy can weigh consequences of his or her action and will own, has that sense of accountability and responsibility of one's choices. Then we have the second term, psychosocial. This refers um, to how social interactions, and we say social interactions, how we as a person relate with others, how we build relationships, how we communicate with others, how we deal others, especially these individuals surrounding us have different perspectives in life, they have different personalities, so therefore it's very important um, as a person to be um, well balanced, flexible in relating with others. And when we say psychosocial development, it refers to how social interactions and psychological growth influence one another. Then we have the ego strength. This term represents the inner resilience. When we say in our vernacular resilience, pagkamalaho tayon. Do not easily give up. Being resilient. No? This ego strength refers to one's capacity, having that inner resilience, which will be gained after successfully resolving a developmental conflict. So later you will know that each of the developmental stage has its ego strength. Ego strength will be attained, will be established only after a conflict in a certain stage is being resolved. So think of these as a building blocks, no, of a person's character. Every stage strengthens the ego when the conflict is resolved positively. Okay, so we have here the first stage of psychosocial stages. We have here the first stage of psychosocial theory of development by Eric Erikson. We have here stage one, infancy, that is 0 to 18 months of age. No? The conflict here is trust versus mistrust. The key event is feeding and virtue is hope. So in this foundational stage, infants, no, whether or not, no, infants learn whether or not, no, the world is a safe and reliable place. So trust develops when caregivers, when we say caregivers, that refers to any person who is taking care of an infant. It can be the nanny, it can be the biological parents, the extended family, such as aunts, uncles, nephews, or even personnel in any non-government organization, orphanage, or whatever. So caregivers that refer to persons caring the infant. No? So trust again will be developed when caregivers consistently provide affection, no, food, comfort, and attention. Mistrust arises when the infant's needs are ignored or met inconsistently. This leads to insecurity and fear. So, the key psychosocial question here in this stage is, can I trust the world? No? It is answered through infants' relationship with primary caregivers, the one who's taking care of the needs of the infant. Successful resolution leads to the virtue of hope. No, it is a sense that even when things go wrong, they will eventually be okay. So imagine in this stage a baby whose parents consistently respond to crying, no? By looking at the felt need at the moment, not just an assumption, but you have to check, no? So if the parent consistently respond to crying, such as feeding, cuddling, changing diapers, or making sure the baby is in a comfortable place, no, whenever that baby will lie down, so this consistency builds trust. On the other hand, neglect, no, such as leaving a baby unattended for long hours, this will foster mistrust. Or even attending the baby's needs inappropriately, such as I've discussed, no, during the oral stage of Freud's theory of development, psychosexual theory of development, that even if we attend to the needs of the baby, if it is inappropriate, such as if the baby cries and the baby's felt need is a change of diaper, but if what if the caregiver just want to stop the crying without really checking the real need of the baby, but no, instead a feeding bottle was provided, so the child or the infant will stop crying, not because a need was met, but because the infant was pacified with something else. But the real need of a change of diaper was not really indeed attended to. Okay, so these inconsistencies will lead to mistrust. So therefore, a child, no, reared by caring caregivers will develop a strong sense of security and hope, no, despite economic hardship. So therefore, teachers must create a safe, nurturing environment for every young learners, because trust is built through routines like greeting children warmly, or maintaining consistent classroom rules, especially for early childhood educators. No, consistency lays the foundation for students' emotional security and readiness to learn. Okay, for stage two of development, we have here early childhood, which age range no, is from 2 to 3 years old. Conflict here is autonomy versus shame and doubt. Then for the key event, we have toilet training. Virtue is will. So at this stage, children begin to assert their independence no, by making simple decisions, such as choosing no, the clothes that they're going to wear, or feeding themselves, or saying no. That's why it's very important no in dealing with toddlers 2 to 3 years old. We give them the opportunity to do things by themselves, even if it takes much time of our effort nga kung natay buhaton sa mo tamalangan mo ng the side effect no when we do things out of convenience. Like for example, we do not want them to eat by themselves kay magkahugaw-hugaw, magagas-agas. We do not want them to help us in washing dishes when they volunteer to help. When we always say no, kay di taganahan, madugay ang trabaho, we don't like nga mabasa ang bata. No, we are actually not helping them to develop a sense of autonomy. That's why it's a challenge for guardians, for parents to be more patient, to be more giving, especially in exposing, in giving opportunities for toddlers to explore no, things, doing things by themselves. But of course, with pervasive supervision no, from adults because it is expected that they cannot really do it well no, because they are still exploring. So growing no, self-control is a foundation for willpower and confidence. So when caregivers support this independence no, while setting appropriate limits, take note of the appropriate limits no, children will develop autonomy. So still, even if we give them opportunities to explore, do things by themselves, such as feeding, we make sure that it has also limits, like making sure that the food that they will take in will not make them choke, or the utensils that they will be holding will not be, of course, causing them physical harm. Okay. However, over control. When we say over control, always saying no, you might get hurt, don't do that, you can't do it. No, ridicule or punishment for mistakes can result in shame and doubt. That's why balance is very important because extreme to both ends will, of course, result in something unproductive. We always have limits, no appropriate limits, and of course, make it does not mean that we do not have discipline. Of course, we have discipline, but we make sure it is not extreme, like we are being so critical with toddlers. No, we always punish by their mistakes. No, we will not punish all of the time. We correct them, no, constructively. Making the child feel incapable or independent, of course, no, will always result in shame and doubt. So the virtue of this stage is will. It's the ability to act with purpose, no, while maintaining self-control. So imagine a toddler wants to feed herself using a spoon. If her caregiver encourages this effort, even if she spills, mag-usik-usik, even if mag-usik-usik, no, a caregiver will give the toddler a chance to feed herself or himself that will develop no, autonomy. But constant scolding or doing everything na, for her may lead to shame and doubt. That's why it is not advisable that we always do things for toddlers. Like um, when they choose clothes for themselves, let them be so that they can practice now making small decisions, or even um, doing household chores. But of course, we are there to guide them. It's very important for parents to no, say, kaya nini mo na, no, you can do it. It reinforces willpower and confidence. So that's why, as teachers, no, we let these toddlers explore, make minor mistakes. It's okay to commit mistakes. There's no need to always punish them. We always appreciate them, no? That in their mistake, they can learn from it. And of course, we help them no? Learn self care tasks like tying their shoelace, cleaning up, or arranging their toys. And we need to avoid over control and humiliation because it will make them more dependent or being anxious. So therefore, teachers must give not praise effort, not perfection. When we say praise effort, we acknowledge their effort of doing things even if it is not successfully done. But by the mere effort of doing things, it is something a milestone to celebrate. We are not looking for perfection, no, in early childhood stage. Stage 3, we have here preschool, 3 to 5 years of age. No conflict is initiative versus guilt. Key event, we have our exploration, and the here purpose is the virtue. So during the preschool years, children's imagination and initiative no will flourish. They want to explore, no, they always ask questions and take leadership in play. So when adults now encourage this curiosity and give space for initiative, children develop a sense of purpose, no? However, if adults frequently criticize, control, or dismiss their ideas, children may internalize guilt and fear of trying new things. Therefore, balancing initiative with moral awareness help young children to understand their social rules. No? Without losing creativity. So the key virtue here is purpose. Now that is guiding actions toward meaningful tasks. So imagine in this stage, no, children begin imitating, initiating play. I mean, that is acting as a teacher, a doctor, a parent, or even a baby. So if adults support this imaginative leadership, no, they develop initiative. But if they are constantly told, stop that, or you are making a mess, no, they will feel guilt, no, for expressing creativity. So therefore, a child leading classmates in a bahay-bahayan game, no, learns purpose and confidence. So therefore, as teachers, we need to provide structured play and project-based learning, not to encourage creativity and curiosity. And of course, it's very important to redirect their energy into meaningful activities like storytelling, puppet plays, or dramatization because it is a given fact that young children, especially preschool or toddler years, they have so much energy in them. That's why we redirect. We make sure their energy is being used with more productive activities. Stage 4, we have here school age, 6 to 11 years of age. It is during elementary years. Conflict is industry versus inferiority. Now, the key event is school. Virtue is competence. So, this is a critical period for developing a sense of competence. No? Children now experience structured learning environments such as school, where success is measured by mastery of skills, no? And social cooperation. Therefore, positive reinforcement for effort and achievement will lead to industry and a sense of pride no, in one's abilities. On the other hand, failure, harsh criticisms, or constant comparison no, can cause inferiority. That's why um, we avoid comparing one children to another, because when they hear these feedbacks, they will have that sense of being not good enough, especially when they are being compared to others. So This will lead to withdrawal and a low self-esteem. So the virtue gained in competence, it reflects confidence in handling challenges and responsibilities. So example, during this stage, a grade 4 student proudly submits a science project, no, and receives positive feedback. This fosters industry. However, constant comparison with top students or harsh criticisms creates inferiority. So it's very important in academic ranking, no, can either motivate or demoralize. So therefore, sensitivity is very crucial. So as teachers, we need to promote collaborative work and mastery learning. That is praise, persistence, no, and improvement, not just high grades. It's very important for us to integrate group activities and recognize, no, different talents of our students, especially athletic, no, artistic, and academic. Then we have here the fifth stage, adolescence. It is during 12 to 18 years of age, identity versus confusion, in which the key event is peer relationships and the virtue is fidelity. So adolescents know they grapple with the question, who am I? As they explore personal values, roles, and future goals. So this stage involves experimentation with identity, social, occupational, and ideological. So that's why, when supported with guidance and acceptance, adolescents form a stable sense of identity. No? However, with lack of support or excessive pressure may lead to rule confusion, uncertainty, or rebellion. So therefore, um, the emerging role virtue here is fidelity, that is representing loyalty and a coherent sense of self, no, that will guide in decision making and building relationships. So it's very important. Example, no, if a senior high school student joins a student organization that is to explore leadership and advocacy, um, it's very important that they will be able to reflect, no, and receive and accept feedback, no, so that they'll be able to form a clearer sense of identity. But with the lack of guidance, no, excessive pressure to conform meaning to follow, especially the majority or the peers, may lead to role confusion. So um, it often manifests now when teenagers struggle between parental expectations and personal interests, like choosing between nursing and fine arts. If no, a teenager might personally want to pursue nursing, but the parents might want, no, a different program. So um, there is a role confusion when this struggle between parental expectations and personal interest, no, um, collide. So therefore, teachers need to provide, no, career guidance and reflective activities such as journaling, mentoring, or life mapping to create a safe space for self-expression, no, so that students will be able to explore their values, their beliefs, and of course their future goals without the fear of judgment. Then we have here the sixth stage, young adulthood from 19 to 40 years old, intimacy versus isolation. So the key event here is love relationships. Virtue is love. Young adults now seek close, meaningful relationships beyond the family unit. So the psychosocial question becomes, can I love and be loved? No, successful resolution involves forming deep emotional connections while maintaining a stable sense of identity. Failure to achieve intimacy may result in isolation or loneliness and emotional detachment. So, the virtue of love emerges as the capacity to commit and care for others without losing one's identity or individuality. So, during adulthood stage, it does not all necessarily mean that you have to establish an intimate relationship with the opposite sex. Intimacy can be established even with peers, with friends, or even with workmates, or even in a community that a person is so passionate, no? So passionate about and rendering service. So example here, a college student entering early adulthood learns to form genuine friendship and romantic relationships. So these successful establishment of relationships will lead to intimacy and emotional bonds. Failure will result to isolation and loneliness. So it is very important for young professionals, no, working away from family to maintain close friendships as emotional support. The seventh stage we have here, middle adulthood, 40 to 65 years of age, generativity versus stagnation. So in midlife, adults focus on contributing to society through work, family, and community involvement. Generativity that refers to being productive, no? Nurturing others, not just about focusing on wants and needs, but also about taking care of others, especially in contributing with the community, mentoring the younger generation, and creating a more um, lasting impact, no? Especially in involving community service. So therefore, individuals feel unproductive during this stage, or may feel being disconnected if they experience stagnation. No, they are um, encased in a routinary work, or even not progressing, to a higher level of um, command of responsibility. So therefore, leading to a sense of emptiness or self-absorption, no, especially when a person will feel that he or she is being stuck. So therefore, the virtue in this stage is care. It arises from finding meaning through service, such as parenthood. Parenting a child is not easy. It's about giving oneself to be of service for the child. Teaching is a service, or any profession that you one might have, it's all about service, no? And of course leadership, no, that's guiding the next generation to thrive. So example here, a teacher mentoring younger colleagues or parenting children shows generativity, that is a desire to contribute and guide. Without this sense of purpose, one may feel stagnation, or what we call a midlife crisis. So therefore, adults often engage in this stage in community service such as church activities, family support, no, as form of legacy. So it is very important for educators to encourage community involvement. Schools can tap parents or older teachers as a resource speakers or mentors to promote inter intergenerational learning and professional growth. So it is where, especially now, if you can see, the retired teachers may serve as mentors na, in a certain organization, or it could be uh, teachers who rendered already long term of service will serve as mentors for the newly hired. So it is very important, no, to be able to be productive in contributing, no, guiding others, no, as they are also in the exploration to grow and establish a more stable um, life, especially professionally. Then we have here stage 8, late adulthood, that is 65 years and above. Ego integrity versus despair. So in the final stage, these are no during, for example, the retiring age. Individuals look back on their lives and reflect on accomplishments and failures. Those who accept their life story with gratitude attain ego integrity, a sense of peace and wisdom. Those who dwell on regrets, missed opportunities, fall into despair, a feeling of bitterness or fear of death. So the virtue of wisdom is achieved when a person embraces life's totality, no? The joys, no? and mistakes with understanding and acceptance. So if you notice, no, your grandparents will always tell their stories when they were younger, you would know that in their stage, if they are experiencing despair, they always have this story, what if, in our vernacular, sus kung ning padayon palang unta ko, sus kung ning sanong palang unta ko, sus ko nakikita palang ko. Those are stories of regrets and that reflect despair. But if your lolo or lola will say, grabe kay tong ako ang struggle sa unang panahon, uy, pero nakaya jud nako. Nagkalisod mi sa unang panahon, pero nakaya jud nako. That is a story of success, a story of gratitude. Then therefore you can say that your grandparent is experiencing ego integrity in the late adulthood stage. Example, an elderly person reflecting on a well lived life feels peace and integrity. No? Those dwelling on regrets experience despair. So it's very important not to promote respect for elders, and of course, no, having that intergenerational connections, inviting senior citizens to share their life stories in class or oral history projects, so that um, it can also give a sense of appreciation now for legacy and cultural continuity, especially, these elders will feel being appreciated despite the fact that they are already, in their um, stage of being detached, with the world of um, working stage, that they're um, somehow enjoying their life of leisure, if they can also be apart. Mostly of them, they are just at home taking so much time, to rest, to take care of themselves, especially if they are physically, experiencing health crisis. So it's very important to reconnect with these elders and integrate them into our society as mentors, and as an example of their life story for us to emulate or to be influenced, and especially if they are being productive, and especially in their generativity stage. So um, the theory of Erickson reminds us that education is not just about academics, no? It is about nurturing psychosocial growth at every age, because it brings a unique developmental needs shaped by family, culture, and experiences. So as teachers, it's our task to guide them toward balance. Take note of the word balance, because extreme of both ends will result to being unproductive. No? It is very important to somehow resolve the crisis in order to establish or attain the virtues that shape one's character and resilience.